So I'm a long-haul driver. I do mostly regional stuff, sometimes cross-country if the pay's good enough. Last Tuesday, I got a call from dispatch about a rush delivery some electronics company needed. Their stuff moved from this warehouse in Ohio to a distribution center in Pennsylvania. Easy money, or so I thought. The warehouse was in this industrial area I'd never been to before. Not unusual. I'm always going to new places, but this place felt off. I can't really explain it properly. It was one of those gray concrete buildings with no windows, just loading docks and a small office attached to the side. The kind of place that looks like it could be manufacturing anything or nothing at all. When I pulled up, there was only one other truck there, and the driver was just sitting in his cab, not sleeping, not on his phone, just sitting, staring straight ahead. I waved when I got out, but he didn't wave back. Didn't even look at me. Whatever. Maybe he was having a bad day. The loading process was weird too. Usually you back up to the dock, they load your trailer, you check the paperwork, and you're gone. But here, they made me wait in this little office while they loaded. Said it was company policy for security reasons. The office had no windows facing the loading dock, just a receptionist who kept glancing at me every few seconds, like I was gonna steal something. I waited there for almost 2 hours. 2 hours for what should have been a 30-minute load. The receptionist, middle-aged woman with this nervous energy, kept making small talk, but it felt forced, like she was stalling. She asked where I was from, where I was headed, what route I usually take. Normal trucker small talk, but something about the way she was asking made my skin crawl. Finally, they called me back out. The trailer was loaded and sealed. Paperwork looked good. I did my pre-trip inspection like always, checked the lights, the brakes, the coupling. Everything seemed normal. That other driver was still just sitting there in his cab when I pulled out, still hadn't moved. I thought about stopping to check on him, but honestly, I just wanted to get out of there. The first hour of driving was normal. I got on the highway, settled into my rhythm, turned on some music. It was getting dark, which I don't mind. Less traffic, easier driving, but then that's when I started hearing it. Faint, but steady. Every few seconds. At first I thought it was something in the trailer shifting around, making noise. Electronics can be funny that way, but the sound wasn't coming from behind me. It was coming from inside the cab. I turned off the radio, and yeah, there it was. Definitely electronic, definitely close. I started looking around, checked the dashboard, the CB radio, my phone charger. Nothing obvious. The beeping was driving me crazy. So I pulled off at the next truck stop. I figured I'd trace the sound. Maybe it was just my GPS acting up or something. But when I turned off the engine and sat there in the quiet, the beeping continued. That's when I realized it was coming from under my seat. Now, I know my truck inside and out. I've been driving this same Peterbilt for 3 years. I know every creak, every rattle, every weird noise it makes. And I'd never heard this beeping before. Never. I adjusted my seat, moved it forward, and that's when I saw it, tucked way back under the seat, almost hidden behind some wiring, was this little black box, about the size of a matchbox, with a tiny blinking red light. My first thought was, what the hell? My second thought was, how long has this been here? Because it definitely wasn't there yesterday. I clean my cab every week, vacuum under the seats, wipe everything down. I would have noticed this thing. I pulled it out and immediately wished I hadn't. It was warm, Not hot, but warm, like it had been running for a while. And on the back, in tiny white letters, was a phone number. No company name, no logo, just a phone number. I sat there for probably 10 minutes just staring at this thing. My hands were actually shaking. I know that sounds dramatic, but when you find something in your truck that shouldn't be there, something that's been tracking you without your knowledge, it messes with your head. The smart thing would have been to throw it away, right? Just toss it in the trash and drive away. But I couldn't stop thinking about that warehouse, about the receptionist asking all those questions, about that other driver just sitting there. I called the number. It rang once, twice. Then a man's voice answered. You found it. Not hello. Not who is this. Just you found it. Like he was expecting my call. What the hell is this thing? I asked. Why is it in my truck? There was a pause. I could hear background noise, voices, machinery, like he was in some kind of control room. Where are you right now? He asked. I'm not telling you that. Answer my question first. Another pause, longer this time. You need to keep driving, he said finally. Don't stop. Don't deviate from your route. Just deliver the load and everything will be fine. What do you mean everything will be fine? Who are you? How did this get in my truck? Mr. Patterson. And yeah, he knew my name, which made my blood run cold. You're carrying something very important. We just need to make sure it gets where it's going, safely. I'm carrying electronics, computer parts or whatever. It's on the manifest. He laughed, not a happy laugh. More like, I don't know how to describe it. Tired, maybe. Like he'd had this conversation before. Just keep driving, Mr. Patterson. We'll be in touch. The line went dead. I sat there in my cab, staring at this little black box, trying to process what just happened. Someone had been tracking me without my knowledge. They knew my name. They knew my route. They probably knew exactly where I was sitting right now. And they were telling me to just keep driving like I was some kind of what? Unknowing accomplice? I thought about calling the cops. I thought about calling my dispatcher. I thought about just abandoning the load and driving home. But then I thought about that other driver at the warehouse, just sitting there, staring straight ahead. What if he'd found a tracker too? What if he'd made the same phone call? What if everything will be fine meant something completely different than what I thought it meant? I decided to keep driving, not because I trusted them, but because I needed to figure out what was really going on. And honestly, I was scared. When someone knows that much about you, when they can put things in your truck without you knowing, running might just make things worse. The next few hours were the longest of my life. Every car that passed me, I wondered if it was following me. Every truck stop I passed, I wondered if I should stop or keep going. The GPS tracker was sitting on my dashboard now, still beeping every few seconds, and I kept glancing at it like it might suddenly explode or something. Around midnight, my phone rang. Unknown number. You're making good time, the same voice said. No greeting, just straight to business. Are you watching me right now? I asked. We're monitoring your progress. Yes. Why? What's really in my trailer? That's not your concern. Just keep driving. Like hell, it's not my concern. It's my truck, my CDL on the line if something goes wrong. I have a right to know what I'm carrying. Silence for a long moment. Then, you're carrying exactly what the manifest says you're carrying. Computer components. Nothing illegal. Then why the tracker? Why the surveillance? Because those computer components are worth more than your truck, Mr. Patterson. More than your house. More than most people make in a lifetime. We're just protecting our investment. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him. But something in his tone, it was like he was reading from a script, like he'd said these exact words before to other drivers who'd found their trackers. What happened to the other driver? I asked. At the warehouse, the one who was just sitting in his cab. Another long pause. What other driver? But I could tell from his voice that he knew exactly what I was talking about. I'm pulling over, I said. I'm calling the police. Mr. Patterson, I wouldn't recommend that. Why not? Because you're currently carrying $50 million worth of stolen military hardware. If the police stop you, if they search your trailer, you'll be arrested for federal crimes you don't even know you're committing. The bottom dropped out of my stomach. What? The manifest is fake. The shipping company is fake. You're not delivering computer components. Mr. Patterson, you're smuggling weapons. I actually pulled over then, right there on the highway, hazards on, shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. I didn't know, I said. I swear to God, I didn't know. We know. That's why you're still alive. Still alive. Still alive. Like other drivers who'd found their trackers weren't. What do you want from me? I whispered. Finish the delivery. Go to the address we're going to text you, not the one on your manifest. Transfer the load. Drive away. Forget this ever happened. And if I don't, then you'll end up like the other driver, the one who was sitting in his cab at the warehouse. I closed my eyes. I thought about my wife at home, probably asleep by now. I thought about my kids. I thought about that driver, just sitting there, staring straight ahead. Was he made the same choice you're making right now. Mr. Patterson, he chose his family over his conscience. Smart man. My phone buzzed with a text message, an address in Pennsylvania, but not the one I was supposed to deliver to. Not even close. I'll do it, I said. But after this, we're done. You leave me alone. Of course, just remember, you were never supposed to find that tracker. This conversation never happened. You delivered a normal load to a normal warehouse. Nothing more. The line went dead. I sat there on the side of the highway for another hour, just thinking, trying to figure out if there was any way out of this that didn't end with me dead or in prison. But every scenario I played out ended badly. For me, for my family, for everyone. So I kept driving. The new address was in an industrial area, kind of like where I'd picked up the load. But this place felt different, dangerous. There were men waiting for me, men who moved like soldiers, who knew exactly what they were doing. They unloaded my trailer in 15 minutes, faster than I'd ever seen a trailer unloaded. Professional, efficient, scary. Nobody talked to me except to point where I should park and where I should go when they were done. No paperwork, no signature required. They just took the stuff and disappeared into the warehouse. I drove away as fast as I could without speeding. That was 6 days ago. I've been home since then, trying to act normal, trying to pretend nothing happened. But I can't stop thinking about it, about that other driver, about what I carried, about how easily I became part of something I never wanted to be part of. I checked under my seat again yesterday. No tracker. They kept their word about that, at least. But I keep wondering, how many other drivers are out there right now, carrying loads they know nothing about? How many have found their trackers? How many made the same choice I made? And how many didn't? I've been thinking about quitting trucking altogether, maybe getting a local job, something where I sleep in my own bed every night, because I can't shake the feeling that they're still watching me, that maybe they'll call again someday with another delivery. I don't know what to do. I can't go to the police. They'd never believe me. And even if they did, I'd be admitting to transporting stolen military hardware. I can't tell my wife. She'd want me to go to the FBI, and I'm pretty sure that would end very badly for both of us. I'm a long-haul trucker. Been doing this for about 8 years now. I drive an 18-wheeler from coast to coast, mostly carrying electronics and furniture. Nothing too exciting. The money's decent and I like being on the road, you know? No boss breathing down my neck, just me and the highway and whatever's on the radio. So anyway, this whole thing started on a Tuesday night in October. I remember because I'd just picked up a load in Phoenix and was heading toward Denver. It was one of those routes I'd done probably 50 times before. Nothing new, nothing weird about it. Just another long haul. I'd been driving for about 6 hours when I needed to stop for the night. There's this rest area off I-40 that I always use. It's not fancy or anything, just a parking lot with some picnic tables and restrooms. But it's quiet and safe. Perfect for getting some sleep before the next stretch. I pulled in around 11 p.m. and there were maybe 3 other trucks there, which is pretty normal for a weeknight. I did my usual routine, checked the straps, walked around the trailer to make sure everything looked good, grabbed my thermos of coffee, standard stuff. That's when I first heard it. It was coming from underneath the trailer, somewhere toward the back. Sounded like, I don't know, like a branch scraping against metal, or maybe a loose piece of something, dragging on the asphalt. You know how trucks are. They pick up all kinds of debris on the road. Plastic bags, chunks of tire, random crap that gets stuck in the undercarriage. I grabbed my flashlight and got down on my knees to look under there. The beams swept across the usual stuff. Exhaust pipes, brake lines, the spare tire mount. Everything looked normal. The scratching had stopped by then anyway, so I figured maybe a piece of plastic had worked itself loose and blown away. I went to bed in the sleeper cab and didn't think much about it. But then, it happened again. The next night, I was at a different rest stop, somewhere in Colorado this time. Same thing. Around 11 p.m., I'm doing my walk-around, and I hear that scratching sound. Always the same rhythm, always from the same general area, underneath the trailer. This time I was more thorough with the flashlight. I crawled partially under the truck, which isn't easy when you're 6'2" and the clearance is maybe 3 feet. I checked every inch I could reach, looked for loose heat shields, dragging mud flaps, anything that might explain the noise. Nothing. And here's the weird part. When I was under there, shining the light around, I could swear I smelled something. Not diesel fumes or road grime. Something else. Something organic? Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like when you open a tent that's been stored in a basement for too long. Musty and stale, but also lived in, you know? I probably should have been more concerned, but honestly, after 8 years of trucking, you get used to weird noises and strange smells. These rigs are complicated machines with hundreds of moving parts. Something's always rattling or squeaking or making noise you can't identify. So I went to sleep. Again, the third night is when things got different. I was at a truck stop in Kansas, getting fuel before finding a place to park for the night. While the tank was filling, I decided to check the trailer one more time. The scratching had been happening every night for almost a week now. Always at the same time, always the same sound. It was starting to bug me, you know, like a song stuck in your head. I walked around to the back of the trailer with my flashlight, and that's when I noticed something I'd missed before. There's a storage compartment built into the underside of the trailer. Most drivers use it for tools, spare parts, that kind of thing. The latch was slightly open. Now, I always keep that compartment locked. Always. I've had tools stolen before and learned my lesson, but there it was, not wide open, just cracked maybe an inch or two, like someone had tried to close it, but it hadn't quite caught. I opened it up to check if anything was missing, and that's when the smell hit me, full force, that musty, stale odor I'd been catching hints of. It was coming from inside the compartment, strong enough to make me take a step back and breathe through my mouth. My tools were all there, nothing missing, but pushed way back in the corner. Behind my toolbox and some jumper cables was something that definitely didn't belong. A sleeping bag. Not one of mine. I don't even own a sleeping bag. I sleep in the cab, not outside. This one was old and dirty, dark green with what looked like duct tape patches on it. It was wadded up like someone had shoved it back there, in a hurry. I stood there for probably 5 full minutes, just staring at it. My brain was trying to process what I was seeing, you know? Like, how does a sleeping bag end up in my locked storage compartment? When did it get there? Who put it there? I pulled it out with a stick. I wasn't about to touch it with my bare hands. The thing was disgusting, covered in dirt and God knows what else. It smelled like someone had been living in it for weeks, without washing. Body odor and something worse, something sour and rotten. But here's what really freaked me out. The sleeping bag was warm. Not hot, but definitely warmer than it should have been, sitting in a metal compartment, like someone had been using it recently, very recently. I threw the thing in a dumpster and locked the compartment, double-checking it 3 times. My hands were shaking. I kept looking around the truck stop parking lot, wondering if someone was watching me. The whole place suddenly felt different, you know? Less safe, like there were eyes on me from somewhere in the shadows between the parked trucks. I drove all night after that. Didn't stop until I reached my destination in Missouri, delivered my load, grabbed a new one, and started heading back west. I figured, hoped, that whoever had been using my truck as their personal hiding spot was long gone. I was wrong. 2 nights later, at a rest area outside Amarillo, I heard the scratching again. Same time, same rhythm. But this time, I was ready for it. I'd bought a better flashlight at a truck stop in Oklahoma, one of those big mag lights that could double as a weapon, if necessary. I also had my tire iron within reach. I wasn't taking any chances. I waited until the scratching stopped, then crept around to the storage compartment. The latch was open again, just a crack, like before. This time, I didn't hesitate. I yanked it open and shined the light inside, ready for, I don't know what I was ready for. Another sleeping bag? Someone hiding in there? What I found was worse than either of those things. The compartment was empty, but the metal floor was covered in scratches, deep ones, like someone had been clawing at it from the inside. And there were other things: food wrappers, empty water bottles, a toothbrush, a small pile of what looked like Jesus. I can't even type this without feeling sick. What looked like human waste wrapped in plastic bags. Someone had been living in there, not just hiding, living, for God knows how long. I slammed the compartment shut and ran back to the cab, locked all the doors, started the engine, and got the hell out of there. I drove straight through to the next truck stop, one of those big, well-lit places with security guards and cameras everywhere. I called the police from there, told them everything. They took a report, but what could they do? No crime had been committed. Technically, no one was hurt. Some homeless person had been using my truck for shelter, and now they were gone. Case closed. But I knew they weren't gone. I could feel it, you know. Like when you know someone's looking at you, even though you can't see them. The scratching continued every night for another 2 weeks. Always the same time. Always the same sound. I started parking only at truck stops with good lighting and security. I checked the compartment obsessively, sometimes 3 or 4 times a night. I bought new locks, better locks, heavy-duty ones that you'd need bolt cutters to break. It didn't matter. The locks would be intact, but the latch would still be cracked open. The scratching would still come at 11 p.m. on the dot. And that smell, that awful, human smell, would still seep out of the compartment whenever I opened it. I started having nightmares about it, dreams where I'd open the compartment and find someone in there, not dead, not alive, just waiting, staring at me with eyes that had been living in darkness for too long. In the dreams, I could never see their face clearly, but I could hear them breathing, slow, patient breathing, like they had all the time in the world. 3 weeks ago, I couldn't take it anymore. I drove straight to a truck dealership in Nevada and traded in my rig for a different one. Took a huge financial hit, but I didn't care. I just wanted to be done with whatever was happening. The new truck was clean, fresh, never used for long haul before. I felt like I could finally breathe again, like I'd escaped something terrible. But last night I was at a rest area outside of Reno. Around 11 p.m., I was doing my usual walk around when I heard it. Coming from underneath the new trailer. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know if it's the same person or someone else, or I don't even know if it's a person at all anymore. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe the stress of the road has finally gotten to me, and I'm hearing things that aren't there. But I checked the storage compartment on this new truck anyway, just to be sure. The latch was cracked open, and inside, pushed way back in the corner, behind the spare tire, was another sleeping bag. This one was newer, cleaner, like whoever's using it learned from experience and upgraded their equipment. This happened about a month ago. I drive truck for a living, nothing fancy, just hauling freight between states, mostly overnight runs because the pay's better, and there's less traffic. I've been doing this for like 8 years now, so I'm used to weird stuff. You see all kinds of things on the road. At 2 a.m., drunk drivers weaving all over the place, cops hiding behind overpasses, animals that make you slam your brakes. But this was different. I was coming back from a delivery in Ohio, heading home to Tennessee. It was one of those routes I've done probably 100 times. Straight shot down I-75, nothing complicated. The load wasn't heavy, just some machine parts for a factory, so I was making good time. Left the depot around 11 p.m., figured I'd be home by sunrise if I didn't hit any construction delays. The first few hours were normal. You know how it is driving at night. You get into this weird zone where you're awake but not really thinking about much, just watching the road, listening to talk radio, counting mile markers. There were a few other trucks on the road, some late-night commuters, but nothing unusual. It was somewhere around 1:30 a.m. when I first noticed it. I was just south of Lexington, maybe 20 miles out, when I caught something in my passenger side mirror. A car, dark-colored, looked like a sedan, maybe a Honda or Toyota, something common. At first, I didn't think much of it because, well, cars pass trucks all the time. But this one wasn't passing. It was just sitting there in my blind spot. Now, I need to explain something about truck driving that most people don't realize. Your mirrors are everything. You've got your regular side mirrors, your convex mirrors, your hood mirrors. You're constantly checking them because you have to know what's around you. A truck is basically a moving wall, and if someone's in your blind spot and you change lanes, well, that's how people die. So I'm very aware of what's behind me and beside me at all times. Always. This car had been there for, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes? just cruising along at the exact same speed as me, staying perfectly positioned where I could barely see it, not trying to pass, not falling behind, just there. That's when I realized something was wrong. The car had no headlights on. I mean, no lights, no headlights, no running lights, nothing. It was like a shadow, moving down the highway at 65 miles per hour, in complete darkness. The only reason I could see it at all was because of the ambient light from other cars and the occasional street lamp. My first thought was that maybe the driver didn't realize their lights were off. You know how sometimes people drive around during the day with their lights on. Then when it gets dark, they forget to turn them on because the dashboard is already lit up. So I started flashing my hazards, trying to get their attention. Nothing. The car just kept pace with me, staying in that exact same spot. I tried slowing down a little, thinking maybe they'd pass me and I could get behind them and flash my high beams to let them know. But when I slowed down, they slowed down too. Still, no lights. That's when I started getting really uncomfortable. I mean, who drives on the interstate at night with no lights? It's not just illegal, it's suicidal. You can't see anything. And more importantly, nobody can see you. I started thinking maybe it was some kid joyriding in a stolen car, or someone running from the cops, or, I don't know, someone having some kind of medical emergency. But the way they were driving, it was too controlled, too deliberate. They weren't swerving or speeding or doing anything erratic. They were just following me, matching my every move. I decided to test it. I sped up to about 70. The car sped up. I slowed down to 60. The car slowed down. I changed lanes to the left. The car changed lanes, staying in the exact same position relative to my truck. This went on for, God, it felt like forever. I kept checking my watch, and it was 1:45, 2:15. This thing had been following me for almost an hour now, and I was starting to panic, really panic. I tried everything I could think of. I flashed my lights again. I honked my horn, not just a quick beep, but a long, loud blast that probably woke up people in houses a mile away. I even tried the CB radio, asking if anyone else could see what was happening, but it was mostly static and a few truckers too far away to help. The car just kept following me, silent, dark, like some kind of, I don't know what to call it, a predator? By this point, I was checking my mirrors every few seconds, and my hands were getting sweaty on the steering wheel. I started thinking about horror movies, about all those stories you hear about highway killers and people who follow truckers to remote areas to, well, I don't want to think too hard about what they might want to do. I considered calling 911, but what was I going to say? There's a car following me with no lights? They'd probably think I was drunk or hallucinating. Plus, how would they even find us? We were moving at highway speeds through 3 different counties. Around 2:30, I was getting close to the Tennessee border, and I remembered there was this truck stop, Big Jim's, that I'd stopped at before. It's one of those 24-hour places with gas pumps, a diner, showers for truckers, the whole setup. More importantly, it usually has decent lighting and other people around. I figured if I could get there and park under the lights, maybe this psycho would move on, or maybe I could get a better look at them, get a license plate number, something. So I put on my turn signal, way early, like 2 miles before the exit, and started moving toward the right lane. I was watching my mirrors the whole time, and sure enough, the car moved with me. Still staying in that exact same position, I took the exit, and my heart was pounding so hard I could hear it over the engine noise. The truck stop was about a 1/4 mile down a side road, and as soon as I turned onto it, I could see the lights up ahead. Bright white floods illuminating the gas pumps, yellow lights over the parking area, neon signs for the diner. I pulled into the truck parking section, the area with the longer spaces for big rigs, and found a spot right under one of the floodlights. I put the truck in park, but left it running. and immediately started looking around for the car. That's when things got really weird. The car, it didn't follow me into the truck stop. It drove right past the entrance, slowly. Like maybe 20 miles per hour, still no lights. Just this dark shape moving past the truck stop entrance like it was, I don't know, like it was checking the place out. I sat there for a few seconds, not sure what to do. Part of me was relieved. Maybe whatever this was, it was over. But part of me was even more scared because why would someone follow me for 2 hours and then just leave? I decided to get out and go into the diner. I needed coffee, I needed to use the bathroom, and I needed to be around other people for a few minutes to convince myself I wasn't losing my mind. The truck stop was pretty busy for 3 a.m. There were maybe 6 or 7 other trucks parked there, and I could see people moving around inside the diner through the windows. Normal people doing normal things. It made me feel a little better. I locked up the truck and walked toward the building, but I kept looking over my shoulder toward the road. I couldn't see the car anywhere. Maybe it really was gone. Inside, the diner was exactly what you'd expect. Bright fluorescent lights, vinyl booths, the smell of coffee and grease, a tired-looking waitress behind the counter. I ordered coffee and sat at the counter where I could see out the windows toward the parking lot. I was starting to relax a little when the waitress, her name tag said Doris, asked me if I was okay. "You look a little shook up, honey," she said. "Everything all right?" I almost didn't say anything, but then I figured, why not? Maybe she'd seen something. "This is gonna sound crazy," I told her, "but I had a car following me for the last 2 hours. No headlights, just staying right beside my truck the whole time." Doris raised her eyebrows. "No headlights? You sure?" "Positive. It was like driving next to a ghost car or something." She was quiet for a second, then she looked toward the windows. "What kind of car?" "Dark sedan. Couldn't tell the exact make, but it looked like a Honda or Toyota." "Why?" Doris didn't answer right away. She just kept looking out the window, and I could see her expression changing. She looked worried. "Honey," she said finally, "how long you been parked out there?" "Maybe 10 minutes. Why?" "Because there's a dark car sitting across the road from the truck stop. No lights on. Been there since you came in." My blood went cold. I turned around to look out the window, and sure enough, there it was, parked on the shoulder of the road directly across from the truck stop entrance, just sitting there in the darkness like it was waiting. "Jesus," I whispered. "You want me to call the police?" Doris asked. I thought about it, but what would I tell them? The car wasn't on the truck stop property. It wasn't blocking traffic. It was just sitting there. Technically, it wasn't doing anything illegal except for not having lights on, and by the time cops got there, it would probably be gone. "I don't know," I said. "Maybe I should just wait it out, see if it leaves." But I couldn't stop looking at it. Even from inside the diner, even with all the bright lights, I could see this dark shape across the road. Waiting. I stayed in the diner for about an hour, drinking coffee and trying to figure out what to do. A few other truckers came and went, and I thought about asking one of them for help. But what kind of help? What was I gonna say? "Hey, can you follow me for 100 miles because there's a scary car?" Around 4 a.m., I decided I had to get moving. I had a delivery schedule to keep, and I couldn't sit in that diner forever. Plus, it would be getting light in a couple hours, and maybe whoever this was would give up once it wasn't dark anymore. I paid for my coffee and walked back out to my truck, checking over my shoulder the whole time. The car was still there, just a dark outline against the slightly lighter sky. I got in my truck, started it up, and pulled out of the parking lot. As soon as I got back on the main road, I checked my mirrors. The car was behind me again. No lights, same distance, same position. I got back on the interstate, and for the next hour and a half, it was like the truck stop had never happened. The car just followed me, mile after mile after mile. I tried everything again, speeding up, slowing down, changing lanes, and it matched every move. I was starting to think I was trapped in some kind of nightmare. Finally, around 5:30, the sky started getting lighter. Not full sunrise, but that gray pre-dawn light where you can start to make out shapes and colors. I was maybe 30 miles from home, and I thought, maybe now I can get a better look at this thing. I adjusted my mirrors and tried to see into the car's windshield, but it was too dark and too far away. All I could make out was that it was definitely a sedan, dark blue or black, and it looked like there was only one person in it, the driver. But I still couldn't see any details. No license plate, no face, nothing that would help me identify this person later. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, it ended. I was coming up on my exit, the one I take to get home, and I put on my turn signal like always. But this time, the car didn't follow me. It just kept going straight. Still no lights, still maintaining the same speed, just continuing down the interstate like nothing had happened. I took my exit and pulled over at the first gas station I could find, and I sat there for like 20 minutes, just shaking. I tried to process what had just happened, but I couldn't make sense of it. Someone had followed me for over 200 miles, for more than 3 hours. They'd waited outside the truck stop while I was inside, and then they'd just left. Why? I mean, what was the point? If they wanted to rob me, there were plenty of opportunities. If they wanted to hurt me, they could have tried something at the truck stop. If they were just messing with me for fun, why give up right when I was getting home? It's been a month now, and I still don't have any answers. I've driven that same route 4 times since then, and I haven't seen the car again, but I can't stop thinking about it. The thing that bothers me most is, I keep wondering if I was the only one. I mean, what if this person does this regularly? What if they pick random truckers and just follow them for hours? What if they're still out there doing it to other people? I've been checking trucker forums and CB channels, asking if anyone else has experienced something like this, but so far, nothing. Either I'm the only one, or other people are too scared to talk about it. But I had to tell someone. I had to get this out there because, I don't know, maybe someone reading this has seen something similar. Maybe someone knows what this was about. All I know is that I don't drive at night anymore unless I absolutely have to. And when I do, I'm constantly checking my mirrors, looking for a dark car with no lights. Because part of me thinks it's still out there, waiting, following someone else down some dark highway, staying just out of sight for reasons I can't even begin to understand. If you're a trucker, or if you drive long distances at night, just be careful, okay? Check your mirrors, and if you see something that doesn't seem right, don't ignore it.